right, we're going to get started here. I'd like to welcome everyone. We have a monthly session on pathways, and this evening we are talking specifically about how to work through the different projects and levels as a member. I would like to begin the evening with one question. I'm going to launch the poll here. Feel free to answer. The question is, how long have you been working in Pathways? We first launched Pathways in May of 2018, and we have been at it for about 3 years now. So it took us a little while to get everybody transitioned from the older legacy program over to the digital program Pathways. And any of our new members came straight into Pathways at that point. All right, so it looks like we have a couple folks who have started just recently, less than a year you've been in Pathways. We have someone else who said about 2 to 3 years. So that is good information for me to know where we are currently. So I'd like to know, which path is everyone working in? Can unmute yourself, put it in the chat. This is super informal.
I'm working in the innovation path.
Fantastic. Innovation planning. Great one. Karen, how about you?
Oh, I was forget the name of it. It's not presentation mastery. It's something really similar to that. But I'm also just downloaded the humorous one. And I want to do storytelling. So there's so many I want to do.
Good. All right. So you're definitely in engaging humor, and then the other one we'll dig into and see which one it is.
I'll look it up.
Okay. Tina, how about you? Which path or paths are you currently on?
3 paths: innovative planning, presentation mastery, I think mentor. Path that talks about being a mentor.
Yep, there's a mentoring path specifically in there. Yes. Wonderful.
Those are the 3.
Okay, great. I am currently working in visionary communication and engaging humor. And Tina and I talk all the time about how in conversation I can be funny, but my speeches aren't funny. My speeches tend to be serious in nature. So that's something that I really wanted to challenge myself and see if I could make my speeches funny. I also, right. I think that's true for a lot of us. I had
make funny or add humor.
Well, that's the question, isn't it? I don't know. I've done a couple speeches that have been funny because I've like really worked on them to try and get them to be funny. But that's the fun part about working through Pathways is whatever your personal goals are or your professional goals are, there is a path specifically for you. I completed the motivational strategies. That was my first path. And then my second one was strategic relationships. And I enjoyed both of them. Does that ring a bell to you, Karen? Any of those names? No, there's dynamic leadership. There's the coaching one. There's another leadership something.
I'm looking it up still. I'm trying to, I deleted all my passwords on my computer somehow, so I'm still trying to log in.
Good times.
Sorry. Yeah,
good times.
Bad. Okay.
That's funny. Technology is great when it works, and it's terrible when things run off the rails.
Yeah.
Team collaboration is another one that's a really interesting path. Leadership development. A lot of people confuse the dynamic leadership with the leadership development. They're 2 separate things. Doesn't matter which one you choose in the assessment. When you go through the assessment, it's always going to put presentation mastery in front of you. So that's a spoiler alert. It's always going to give that to you. So ladies, how far along in these paths have you gotten? Have you completed any levels? Have you completed any paths? Like, where are you in this fun adventure?
For me, I, for the most part, have completed level 1. And what I'm trying to do at this point is get the I's dotted and the T's crossed. Okay, I've done the 3 speeches. I've been begging 2 people to give me my evaluation, or 2 or 3. And so the president said, well, worst case, I'll do it if they don't. And I'd like to, like I said, get them submitted so that I'm already starting to move on to the next level, but I don't want to have that hanging over my head. Yeah, I've been a member of Toastmasters since April 1st. And
Oh, so you're new.
I did my first speech the end of April, like the 3rd or 4th week in April. And it's been almost 6 weeks since I did the last one. And I'd like to, like I said, just get that out of the way.
Sure, sure. Well, the good thing about Pathways, and actually for the legacy program as well, is that everything is basically an honor system. So you can complete it online and your VPE can work with you on that. And that's one of the things that we'll talk about tonight. And once it's completed, you're done. So I keep my evaluations. I actually upload it into Pathways so I can keep them and I can look back and see where have I progressed and where are some of those sticky areas that I'm still working on. So it's a mixed bag, really. Okay, Karen, how about you? What kind of progress have you made so far?
So I just started, I think it's May, maybe. It's presentation mastery.
Okay.
And I've finished level 1 and I'm like 3 speeches into level 2. And I was a member of Toastmasters before, but it was when we used the old way. So this is all new to me. So that's why I'm here.
Okay, fantastic. Hi, Daron. All right.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Good, good.
All right. So Tina, how about you? What progress have you made in Pathways so far? And Tina's been a Toastmaster for several years now.
Yes, I have. And sadly, I have not made much progress. And my reason for that is I wanted to complete the legacy program before it expired. So I was working on my Distinguished Toastmaster Award and the deadline was extended. So I spent the better part of last year working in the legacy program so I can earn my DTM award. I have started all 3 paths. I've given an icebreaker in all 3 paths. But that's as far as I've gotten, ladies.
Okay, great. Great. Well, there's several benefits to the online program. One of them is that you don't lose any manuals. Everything is online for you. And the online system has so much information. It's like taking a course. So if any of you have a corporate type job where you do those computer-based trainings, this is no different than that, really. If you don't have that sort of experience, it can be a little daunting to work through this. And I completely understand that. So one of the things that I really enjoy about Pathways is videos. As you go through the course, there's videos to watch. I love the Icebreaker project because it takes you through the course and it gives you some video interaction. And me, like so many other people, if you show me how to do something, I'm more likely to retain it instead of you just telling me or I have to read it or something like that. The second project that everyone goes through in level 1, which is the same for everyone, is the feedback and evaluation. And the great thing about the feedback evaluation course is that they actually show you videos of a very effective evaluation, and you can learn from that. You can get some of those pointers because there are people in the video who point out, hey, notice how they did this, this, and this. And then they show you a video of kind of a lackluster evaluation, and that gives you the application of seeing how it works for maybe a not so great evaluation. So it really does show a lot of those really great things. So I am going to share my screen. All right, so getting started in Pathways. Welcome, Andrew. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. So getting started in Pathways, there are two different ways to actually log into the system. Everyone seems to have their own preferred method. I'm going to show you both. So the first method is you have to log in first. So if you don't have this welcome in your name all the way up at the top here, then you're not logged in. And instead, you'll see a symbol right next to the shopping cart that says log in. So you want to make sure that you're logged in. So you can access Pathways one of two ways. The first way is come right over here to the Pathways tab, click on it, and it's going to have that drop down menu. And then you can go to Basecamp, which is in the middle column, the very middle choice that says go to Basecamp. So that's the first method of getting into Basecamp. The second method, once you're logged in, just click on your name. Once you click on your name, it's going to show you a lot of information in here. It gives you the history of when you joined and where you live and your member number and any offices you've ever held and all kinds of information about your membership. But if you look up here at the first blue box on the left where it says go to Basecamp, you can go to Basecamp straight away by going there. Now, how many of you on the call are also Basecamp managers? All right, Tina's a Basecamp manager. Daron is. Andrew, it says you're president of Mid-Lakeland. Is that a Toastmasters club? Yes, so you would also be.
What does a Basecamp manager do?
The Basecamp manager is somebody that is president, vice president, or secretary of your club, and they can see the back end administration stuff of your club. It's mainly statistics. So they can see how many people are enrolled. Like we've got 3 people in presentation mastery path, and we've got 4 people over in the engaging humor path. They can also see how many people have completed a level 1 or a level 2 and your progress. This is also where they're going to go to approve your level, so then you can move on to the next level. So there's a few different things that the Basecamp managers do. So to get in as a member, you're just going to click on go. I happen to have a drop down because I'm a member of 2 different clubs. But if you just have the one club, which is great for a lot of you who just started, you just click on go, and then it'll take you straight into Pathways. All right, here is the Pathways homepage. This is called Basecamp. So there's a lot happening on this page. This landing page gives you all of the information about not just about you, but about paths in general. There's a lot of things that are useful to you on this page. This evening, we're just focused on working through the projects and the courses and the levels as a member. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on all of the goodies on this page, but if you're ever curious, talk to your vice president of education or reach out to me, and I'd be happy to talk with you a little bit more about what's happening on this page. A couple different ways to get into your path. We have this drop-down menu in the blue bar that says Paths and Learning, and then it drops down and you can click on Paths and Learning. The second option is to click on this button, this white button that says Paths and Learning. Or you can scroll down again where it says Paths and Learning, and you can actually see all of the different paths that you're currently enrolled in. Like I mentioned, I have 2 different paths here. So once you come over to the far right side, there's going to be a blue link that says Open Curriculum. I highly recommend that you go through the courses. The reason being, there are videos, there are documents that you can grab. There's more to a project than just your evaluation. There is your evaluation, and that's important to give to your speech evaluator, of course. But when you first get started, it's going to take you through the course, and you always have these navigational arrows to the right and to the left, and you can always move forward and backwards. Gives a lot of information. If a couple of you mentioned that you worked through the legacy program and the manuals before, this content is virtually the same as what was in those manuals. A lot of the projects are similar. So this content was just brought over, refreshed, and given a little bit more of a visual appeal than what we had previously. So very important, once we get over to the your assignment slide, it has a project checklist. Have you ever checked this out?
Mm-hmm.
Love the project checklist because it'll open up a new tab. And this kind of gives you I want to say a path forward, so you know like all of the different steps that you're going to go through to accomplish this entire project. This is great for new people. This is basically the same document that you're going to see in every single project in Pathways. It's going to be a similar linear process. And once you get up to level 3, 4, and 5, some of those projects are a little bit more leadership oriented, where you're going to have to assemble a team or work with a team, motivate them to work on a common goal or a project or to achieve something, in which case you have your project that you're working on. And typically there's the before speech, I'm proposing what this project is going to do and what we're going to accomplish, how we're going to accomplish it. And then you actually take your team through that project. And then usually there's an ending speech. You kind of have your before and your after speech to let us know how did it go. Those types of projects have a lot of documents for you to check out. So as you're working your way through here, it's important for your own personal journey to score yourself before you go through the entire course. And then once you complete the course, you take the post test, and then it'll show you a comparison of where were you before you did the project and where did you go after. These aren't graded. Your VPE doesn't see it. Nobody in Toastmasters sees it. This is really just for you to have a pulse on your own progress. So really encourage you to go through some of those. Sometimes in these projects, instead of having the right and left arrows, they will give you some more prompts, like this one is the next instead. It's always going to give you a slide about competencies. What's great about this is it gives you those learning objectives. So what are we going to talk about in this course? What can I expect to get out of this course? And even after you complete the course, you can open these back up again and run through it and review some of the information. And I encourage you to do that. So this whole thing is all about feedback, and it's going to take you through how do you receive feedback, because that is definitely one of the projects within level 1. We've got some more clicking interactions here to get some more information and to learn more about feedback and evaluation. This one also runs through some more information. I mentioned to you before that there are videos in here. So here is one such video. It's almost 7 minutes long. Spend some time in these videos. It's invaluable information. We get more of our senses involved with a video than us just looking through all of that text. We get to hear what's happening, we get to see what's happening, and we get to feel what is happening on the screen as well. So really encourage you to spend some time in some of these videos. I'm going to jump around here. You can always navigate these by coming down to the bottom, clicking that little arrow and moving forward and backwards throughout the course. I'm actually going to move towards the end where it says review and apply. So this slide is always going to tell you, what did we just cover in this course? So it's a good idea to read through those things and say, yep, I remember we talked about that, saw it in the video. Yep, we talked about this. And if there's anything specific in there that you don't recall, or maybe you want to read through again, you can always go back. Here's that same project checklist that we looked at before. So the great thing is, if you didn't grab it the first time around at the beginning of the course, you can always grab it again later. And then here is an outline of what this project is all about. The funny thing about the feedback and evaluation course and project is that it actually asks you to do 3 things. Does anybody recall what those 3 things are for this project?
Practice, practice, practice.
A for effort, but that's not what I'm looking for. There are 3 specific things you need to accomplish in this project in order to be able to check it off as accomplished.
Isn't it you give the speech and then you give it again using the feedback that was given to you?
Yeah, that's
what you
right.
do.
Yeah,
That's like only 2 things.
you give the speech and you receive feedback.
Back, right.
Yep,
And
the
then you
second
give the speech
time
again,
you
right.
do the same speech or you do a different speech.
Right.
It could be either, but you're implementing that feedback in your second part of the project. And what's the third part?
I don't know. I don't know the third part. You assessing yourself?
You're not assessing yourself.
Well, you do have to go to that assessment.
That's at the end, but there's one more thing that you're going to do at your club.
I don't know.
Don't you have to evaluate someone else?
You do.
No.
You become the speech evaluator. That's it, Karen. Yep. So you give your speech, you collect the feedback, you give a second speech, the same or a different one, and you implement that feedback. And then the third thing is that you become someone's speech evaluator. So that's the 3-part approach that will help you mark this project complete in level 1. So your evaluation page always gives you your evaluation. So this is where you can go to give your evaluation specifically to the person who's going to be your speech evaluator. So notice that there are 3 evaluation resources on this one. So the first one is that first speech where you collect that feedback. The second one is about the second speech where you implement the feedback. And then the third one is somebody is grading you while you are somebody's speech evaluator. That evaluation typically is a written only, but I have seen some clubs where after that person is the speech evaluator, then their evaluator will give a verbal evaluation to the speech evaluator. In a normal club setting, that is usually reserved for the general evaluator that would evaluate the overall meeting and provide some feedback, possibly to the speech evaluators. I've seen it done both ways. Every club has its own dynamic, personality, and culture. So whatever it is in your club that they're doing currently, that's great. If you would like to actually talk with the person that did the evaluation while you were speech evaluator, you could either do that in front of the club or you could have a conversation afterwards. Also, every single project will have this link in it called Print My Project. Let's crack that open and see what it's about. Now, if you don't want to sit in front of this course and click, the forward and the backward arrows and go through all of the interactions, like if you're just on the go, you can print it out, or you can put this over onto a tablet or your phone or something like that, and you're reading while you're waiting at the doctor's office or whatever it is that you're doing, you can actually go through the entire project, this course, and this is a PDF. So it's a great resource to hang on to. Doesn't have the videos in it though. That's the downside of having this PDF. It's great for the reading material. It'll even show you like where there is a video and where you would do some interaction. But it doesn't actually host the videos in here. So that's one thing to be aware of if you are going to print that project. So let's take a look at this first evaluation. So this is what you would give your speech evaluator. If you are using Google Chrome, you can type right into this. And once you click on download, it will ask you, do you want to save it with your changes, meaning all of the things that you typed into it? Or if you do it without your changes, it'll just be a blank form. I like to do it with the changes because I've already typed it all in there. I put in my title, I put my name and all of those goodies. But it's up to you. So as we're working through these evaluations, the evaluation format is the same for all of these projects from level 1 all the way through level 5. So you're always going to have the 3 sections about this is what you excelled at, and then this is what you want to work on, and then this is how to challenge yourself. This rubric over here is similar, but there are some nuances depending on what the project is. So the first page may not change a whole lot depending on what the speech project is, but the second one may have some nuances. And if you'd like to look at what does it actually mean to be a level 5 exemplary, or I scored a 4 excels, the third sheet gives you some more in-depth information so you can see what it is. So here's the thing. We were taught in school that if you have like the highest score, that's just the best you can absolutely do. But look at what number 3 says. Number 3 says accomplished. It's kind of a nice word, isn't it? Like, how do you feel about the word accomplished? If someone calls you accomplished, how do you feel about that? Andrew feels good about it. Anybody else feel any certain way about being accomplished?
It's good.
A bit puffed up.
Yeah, I mean, if you're an accomplished pianist, that sounds pretty amazing, doesn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
I always think it means you're accomplished, you're doing well, but you can do better.
Yeah, there's always room to grow, right?
Right.
There's no such thing in Toastmasters where you have arrived and you've learned everything you can possibly learn and you just graduate out of the program. There's always something else to learn. Like I was talking about the engaging humor path, and I chose that path because I just don't feel like I'm like super funny, especially in my speeches. My speeches tend to be more academic, like really serious type topics. And I thought, you know, maybe I should try and extend myself and expand my horizons by doing that. I don't go nearly as fast through that path as some of my other paths because I'm just, I don't feel accomplished. I'm not even sure I feel level 2 emerging. I might rate myself a 1 developing in the whole humor milieu, but that's me personally. You know, and in school, if we scored satisfactory, and remember how you felt about that? How did you feel about satisfactory?
Like you did the bare minimum.
Right. You satisfied the requirements. Sounds pretty great, doesn't it? Like I've satisfied all the requirements for this. But in school, if you were told like it was satisfactory, it was like, But I'm kind of glad that they went with the word accomplished because, getting a 3 is actually really great in Toastmasters. So don't bog yourself down with all of those feelings that you had in school about only a 3. What am I going to do? It's only a 3. Hey, you know what? Learning, growing, we're onward and upward. That's part of the journey. If you get a 4 and you excel, well, holy smokes, that's great. Or you get a 5, exemplary, and that's what I'm talking about. That's great. But any of these projects, if you're at a 3, that's pretty great. Accomplished is great. So I'm going to move forward in this course now. And looks like I never did the before. So it just popped up for me I actually rated myself.
Okay, before you move forward,
after.
can I make a statement or?
Please.
In this part here, a lot of people don't realize that they have to do this assessment before and after. And if you don't do the after, then it doesn't let you go forward. And I don't know how to emphasize that for people, but I find that that's a little bit of because they say it doesn't work for me. I did everything. How come now it's not letting me go forward or complete the level or whatever? So I don't know. It's got to be somewhere to let them know, hey, you got to do the assessment before and the assessment after.
Right, exactly. So there's a couple things I want to say to that, Daron, and I'm glad you brought that up because that's exactly where I'm headed next. So the first thing that I want to say to that is that some people are just going straight into the base camp over here, and they might just click on this speech evaluation section. They're like, oh, I'm working on the active listening, or I'm working on whatever project, and they just grab the evaluation and they don't spend any time in the course, and they're really missing out. So that's the first thing. And if you're not seeing things accomplished, if you're the VPE or one of those base camp manager types, and we're not accomplishing any of these projects in Pathways, it means we're not going through the course, we're not doing the before assessment and then the after assessment and then marking it complete. We're skipping steps somewhere. So I really want our members to spend some time in the course because there's lots of information in here that we could really benefit from.
Yeah, it's kind of confusing when you try to go in there the first time and you push on, from the front page or the home page, you push Pathways, and then it gives you a drop down.
Yes.
But then there's also another option to click Pathways.
Yeah.
And then it goes to there, you click that, it's got a drop down. They should just, if they can make that,
just
like
go.
what the first one is, or see that Pathways, the big Pathways in that drop down menu.
Yeah, make this clickable.
See that, they should just replace that with that so that it goes to the Pathways.
Right.
And plus, they should also put go to base camp up. If that's the first thing you got to do, then it would be nicer if it was up.
Right. Or symbols, most really,
I mean, that's how people can
smart websites are looking for icons and stuff. Just click the icon and you go. Yeah. So that's definitely something that I'd like to emphasize is get into a rhythm where I click to log in and then I click either Pathways to the drop down, or I click right on my name and then go to base camp. Part of it is there's a lot of clicking.
Yeah.
And if you haven't built that muscle memory yet of I know, I click here and then I click here and then I click here, keep working at it, because muscle memory is not just for athletes. It's for anyone who's doing anything physical, including computer skills. So that's a great point too. So if we aren't being actively engaged in getting into Pathways, then we're not going to do, like Daron said, the before test and then the after test, the pre and the post test, and working through the course. And if you're not working through the course, you're not actually getting credit for doing the course, which ties in directly to your club's education goals. So there's a lot of reasons why we need to be in here. One, it's great information that everyone can benefit from. And two, it directly impacts your club's performance in the world of Toastmasters International. So there's a lot happening here for sure. So just like Jerome said, as soon as you get to this part, the evaluation, here are all of the documents that you can refer to. And just because you get out of this course, it doesn't close up. You can always come back in and you can always navigate using this menu to figure out where it is that you want to go. If you want to see those videos again, you want to have those documents again, wherever it is. If you didn't do your pre-test, come on in and do your pre-test. I think I did my post-test as a demonstration for one of my other sessions, so that's why it's here, but it's going to be the same thing. So instead of assess your skills before, it's going to say assess your skills after. And you go through and you rate yourself. I'm just choosing a few things. The last question is always, I recognize how this applies to my life outside of Toastmasters. I always say 5 because I think all of these skills are fantastic for outside of Toastmasters. So now that I have my pre and my post, once I come over here, it's going to flash up here my before and my after. It's great for your own personal journey to see where have you increased your skills, especially on a project like this where you gave your first speech and collected the feedback, you implemented that feedback into a second speech, and then you became a speech evaluator for someone else. There's a lot happening in this project, much more than some other projects. They're basic skills, of course, feedback and evaluation, but I can look back and see, you know, I went from a 4 to a 5, or I went from a 2 to a 3, or I went from a 1 to a 4, and celebrating your accomplishments. So it's a great way to see this. Doing the post test also triggers the system that you have accomplished and completed this course. So very important to do that pre-test and post-test because it keeps track. So as I move forward from here, I get that congratulations slide. So that tells me now that the system has now been triggered, that I have completed this project, and now I can go and mark it complete.
Does that send a message to the VPET?
Not yet.
Or? No, okay.
Not yet. Nope, not yet. So this one, it actually shows as completed. Let me show you on this one. I actually did do my icebreaker in this one. I'm just going to jump straight to the post test so you can see how that changes. So currently it shows here, my status is in progress and my button says launch. When I come over here to my post test, I can do my pre-test, but it doesn't mean I can't do it. I can go back and do it for the purpose of this demonstration. So when I go forward and I get that congratulations slide, this is where, once I close out of this now, notice how it's changed. It changed to completed. It's got that blue check mark and it shows that I have to evaluate it. So this is what sends the message over to the Basecamp manager that you completed this project in the statistics. Now I have to complete all 3 of these in order for them to sign off on my level. You can see that this level, level 1, I'm currently showing 50%. I haven't done the research and presenting yet. So I'm like halfway through. So this is how we're working through these levels as we activate it. And then you'll see it go from the status of not activated to the status of in progress to the status of completed. So that's another way to keep track of it. If it's completed, you'll see the blue check mark next to it. You'll see status completed, and you'll know that it's done. I can go back into this one. This one is completed. I can launch it again. I can keep looking at that course if I wanted to. If I wanted to see those videos, because I signed up to be a speech evaluator and I'd like to take a look at those videos again. I can go back in and review those videos. Bye, you have your hand raised.
I wanted to know when you get to the needing to have, you know, let's say your project evaluated. How does I'm VPE, so how would I know that someone has requested an evaluation? Do I get an email?
Because they signed up for a speech, or they want an evaluation on something else?
Right, but will I get an email? How will I know that?
If they signed up for a speech just at a club meeting, you would assign an evaluator.
Okay.
Yep. And if you are keeping track of the progress of your members and you know that they're on this evaluation and feedback and they have to be the speech evaluator and someone has to evaluate them, you would take the initiative to work with them to make sure that they have somebody to evaluate their speech evaluation. And you can have that conversation about, do you just want it written, or do you actually want to have them do a verbal evaluation in front of the club?
Okay, but that's good to know. But the question I wanted to know is, how do I sign off in Pathways that they've completed the icebreaker, or they've completed, you know, these 3 speeches here? How would I know that it's ready to be signed off? I guess that's what I'm asking.
Okay, so the member is going to have to sign off on all of these things themselves.
Okay.
You will get a message when this whole level here reads as 100%.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You'll get an email and you would log in as Basecamp manager. And you can also see any of those pending requests that you have to sign off on. And last month, we actually talked about being a Basecamp manager, and we'll be doing that again in coming months.
Okay.
Yeah, so make sure you don't miss that session, because that's going to be very relevant to you as the Vice President of Education.
Okay.
Yeah. Within a certain level, it's really incumbent on the member to work through it and to get all of those completed on their own. Now, notice that this one does say evaluate now. So all of my other buttons either say activate, because I haven't even started that course yet, or it says launch because I'm either in progress or I completed it. When evaluate is here, this is your opportunity to send feedback directly to Toastmasters International and tell them what you thought about this particular course, the content, the documents, the videos, and the evaluation, anything that you wanted to provide feedback on. And I've actually seen people submit some very valuable feedback, and then Toastmasters International come around and modify something because of that. One of the things they changed was going from this evaluation right here, where it's the first speech. They had it all in one document before, and it was confusing because it was like a 9-page document. or an 8-page document or something. It was like, well, okay, speech evaluator, just pay attention to pages 1 and 2. Nope, just do 3 and 4. So they've actually separated those out now.
Mhm.
So that's essentially how to work through all of these levels and projects. Now, for new people who are new in Pathways, I recommend that you go through these levels in order. There is a progression where they start with basic skills, and then we build up and scaffold on other skills beyond those levels. If you've been in Toastmasters for a while and you've been working in Pathways for a while, you can actually skip around. If you want to go straight to level 5, you can do that. You can see that I've got something accomplished over here in level 5 already. You can skip around. You have access to all of it. I don't recommend that if this is your first pathway. I think you should get the rhythm of it, not just as a member, but Vi, to your point, being a VPE, being one step ahead of some of your members as an officer and as a leader, working it in order, I think is the best way for new Toastmasters or people who are new to Pathways to do it in that sequential order.
Mhm. Okay.
One other thing I would like to tell you about, if you're a speech evaluator or you're giving your evaluation to someone, is every single evaluation has a number. This one down here this is item 8100. You can see that up here at the top of my screen as well, 8100. They all start with a number scheme. If it's 8-1, it's level 1. If it's 8-2, it's level 2. See the rhythm now? So if someone hands you an evaluation that is 8-4 something something, it's a project out of level 4. So there is a numbering scheme. Daron's an accountant, you'll appreciate this. Got to have our numbers. There is a method to the madness here. It doesn't say the numbers up here, and it doesn't even really say that this is from a specific path or a specific level, but that'll give you the numbering scheme. If you just look at the bottom, it'll tell you that in the footnote. Anybody have any questions or anything that you'd like to discuss to better manage your navigation through Pathways?
I wanted to ask you, you said that you can only use Google Chrome to type in the evaluation form?
No,
Or-
you can use lots of different browsers. I prefer to use Google Chrome.
And I don't. I use.
The reason I do that is because professionally, I actually work on this system that Toastmasters calls Pathways. It's actually called Cornerstone. I work on this on the back end for my job, and it performs the best in Google Chrome. So that's just my default browser, but you can do it in other browsers. I think Microsoft Edge will allow you to do that.
Okay. But sometimes when you save it, it doesn't allow you to type inside, and I don't know why. So
I know.
need to find out why that is.
Well,
Because instead of printing it out, I prefer to give it to the person so they can just type it in, and then they can just email it back to you.
I agree. So there's a couple reasons why. One of the
Okay.
reasons is that if you are using, if
Okay,
you just
Edge.
download it
Right.
and you don't actually have like a certain type of Adobe Acrobat reader, it's not going to allow you to do all of the fancy stuff of like typing in there. And I see that a lot, especially with like these circles, like doing these circles
Right.
on when you download it. So sometimes people have given me a written evaluation, and because of how I function, I will go back and I will type it up and then I'll just like save it. And, I'd rather interpret their hieroglyphics now instead of looking at my evaluation later saying, I can't even read this chicken scratch. I prefer to do it that way. I actually store it right over here in my documents
Right.
over here.
Yeah, I started doing that also. So
Yeah.
how do we overcome the fact that we can't type it? Sometimes you can't type it in.
Well, if you're
I mean, 'cause
working,
you have to download it in order to give it to
Hmm.
someone.
yeah, if you're working in Adobe Acrobat Reader, there are certain types of accounts that will allow you to enter the information. And there's other types that, like if you just have the basic one, you might be able to get to some of these fill-ins. And then there's other types of accounts where you can only do like a signature and you can't actually like input stuff in it. So this is really more of a, what are your computer settings question than a,
For software.
I
Yeah,
thought maybe that
software.
Toastmasters can make it so that you can always do fill-in. There's no way.
well,
for
they
that to-
did, but it also depends on what software you're using once you download it.
Okay.
Because
Maybe-
sometimes if you download it, it'll just open right up into an internet browser like this anyway.
Mhm.
But if you have the default set as Adobe Acrobat Reader, then it'll open over there. And then that also depends on the level of account that you
Okay.
have. If you're
Okay.
working on a Mac, then it might default to the program called Preview. And then you can actually type in some of the stuff over there too. So it's really about computer settings.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Maybe try saving it and labeling it, like labeling it something else. And would that allow you to change it?
Sometimes it's not so much the label that matters, but if you have, like here I have
Yeah.
Adobe or the Acrobat Reader.
Right.
And if I set that as the default, anytime I open a PDF and it opens in there, I have a greater chance of being able to type into those fields.
Mhm.
But if the default setting is, it's just going to open in your default browser,
Hmm.
then you got to figure out what you're going to do.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a lot of computer settings that dictate what the aftermath is after you download it. Anybody else have
One of
any?
the other nice things, if your club has a website
Yeah.
and they're doing the agendas on the website,
Mhm.
then you can go to that agenda
Mhm.
and put in the path that you're working on, and they'll automatically get the evaluation form then.
If
And-
you're using Free Toast Host, some clubs
Right.
use Free Toast Host, other clubs use Easy Speak, and some clubs don't use either. But if you are using this one and you're logged in as a member, you can click on meeting agendas. And then you could see that, let's pick on Pim for a minute. She has the persuasive influence path. She chose the elective she's working in. And then here's the evaluation form right here.
Right.
It doesn't have any of this stuff filled out yet. But it is embedded right into Free Toast Host if your club uses Free Toast Host.
Yeah, that's a good feature, you know.
Mhm.
Hopefully most of the clubs are using it. And
Some are, some are not.
Yeah. And then you can always tell your evaluator to go out there and pick up your form, and then your whatever speech you're working on is in there. If the member puts it in, the member has to put it in though.
That's right.
If you don't put it in, it's not going to be there.
That's right. And that always helps the Toastmaster of the day know
Right. What
what are we working on today?
What level and what speech.
Yeah, and the VPE can take a quick look at what is this person doing for this particular meeting and
Right.
stuff too. Yeah,
That's a nice feature also.
it's a fantastic feature. Yeah,
Right.
if your club is using Free Toast.
So, yeah.
Anybody else have any questions, comments, concerns about working through Pathways as a member?
No, I think that just like anything, the more you use it, the better you become familiar with the tool.
It
Like
is
Zoom.
about that muscle memory.
Yeah, kind of like Zoom.
Absolutely. That's exactly right. Yeah. And if you get hung up, like for the longest time, I was getting hung up with like, here's home and then here's the drop down. I just want to click on home and it disappears. Just click on the logo.
Mhm.
If you click on the logo, it'll just take you straight to home for Basecamp.
Yeah, I was
So
just
save you a
doing
lot
so-
of back and forth and
Yeah, I
right.
just
There's
ran into
a lot
that.
happening here.
I was
Yeah,
like,
just
nothing was moving. And then,
click on the logo.
okay.
The logo will take you straight into the home of Basecamp. Tina, you have your hand raised.
Yes, going back to the file storage.
Yes, ma'am.
How did you do that again?
So on the Basecamp home, if you come over here to My Documents,
Oh, okay.
yeah, you gotta, depending on how big your screen is, if you scroll down, it's on the bottom right corner.
Mhm.
It has a file structure, just like Pathways, level 1 through 5, and then it has another one just called My Documents. Tina, you mentioned that you were working on the mentorship path. So this would be a place where like My Documents would go because it doesn't have level 1 through 5, like one of the 11 pathways. You can save all your evaluations. You can save other types of forms in here. Some of those level 4 and 5 projects have like a goal setting sheet and the action items that will get you to the goal. One of them is about what are my short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals. Some of the projects ask you to collect a 360-degree evaluation from your peers or from your club officers or your committee or whatever project you were working on. I like the My Documents folder for things like that, that it doesn't necessarily go in a specific level. Yeah. This is your file storage. No one else can see this. No one has access to this. This is your personal login cloud that you can keep track of your own evaluations. If you don't use it, nobody knows that either.
And I would like to point out something else.
Certainly.
When you're going through looking at the different screens and watching the videos, one of the resources they give you is an outline.
Mhm.
And I think that's great when you're preparing your speech.
Yeah.
You can use that outline to prepare your speech. You know, what do I want to talk to first? Maybe you can get to one.
Yeah, it's
I
always
want
going
to
to
show
be,
people that.
it's always going to be in level 1 Icebreaker.
That's the only place where the outline is? No, it's in other places.
There are a couple outlines for other types of projects, but not speeches that I've seen anyway.
Oh, really? Because
If you find another one,
I found it in another one.
yeah, if you find another one, let me know. That's the only place I've seen it. Over here in the Icebreaker, on the Your Evaluation page where all of those documents are, here's the Icebreaker speech outline. I don't think it's just for the Icebreaker speech. I think people can use this outline for a lot of their speeches.
Right. I think that's really useful and helpful when you're preparing your speech. But I thought I saw it at a different level, really.
Well, researching and presenting has an outline as well, but it's more about taking the topic and whittling it down to like, what's the main idea and what are your examples and stuff. So that is an outline of sorts. Maybe that's where you saw it.
Maybe that's where I saw it.
Here's this
speech
outline worksheet.
Speech outline worksheet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that I'm going to resave this so that I have it for all the speeches. But I think that really works well.
Yeah, I like the research worksheet as well, because I feel like, you know, if any of your speeches are about an academic topic or something that isn't like an emotional or personal testimony story type speech. I think this specific research workshop worksheet is a really good one because it helps you kind of mind map all of your ideas, get it all out there. So yeah, this one does have the speech outline to go along with it too. Yeah.
I think that really helps you to get your thoughts together,
Mhm.
like you said, you know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I do have some additional features here that we do need to explore, because I just found that recently and I'm like, oh, wow, this is great. I can really,
Well,
you know, I can.
yeah, and this is why I encourage people, spend some time in the course because there is rich information in there that you wouldn't find otherwise. If you went straight to your speech evaluation, you're missing out.
Right.
You really are.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I agree.
So
I
folks,
just wish they had
we're at
spell check.
time.
I wish they had spell check. But anyway, I guess I
Right?
have to learn how to spell, but they don't have spell checks or spell correct, unfortunately. But anyway.
Yeah, it's a little tricky with a PDF for sure.
Yeah, maybe.
That's a
No,
whole
that's
other
true.
skill set.
Wow.
Okay, that's true. That's true. That's
Some
true.
people like to type it out in a Word doc and make sure it's all
Right.
set, and then they'll copy it and paste
Right.
it over into
Yeah,
the
you could do
PDF.
that too. Yeah.
If you're doing in-person meetings and you're writing it on the fly, some people bring their laptops and actually do it online during a meeting. A lot of people will just write the evaluation during a meeting, or if you're in Zoom world still, you might still be printing it off and writing it and then
Right.
sending it to them somehow, either handwritten or typed or whatever. So, well, folks, we are a few minutes past time, but I'm happy to stay on if anyone has any questions, comments, concerns. Love to help you. My name is Rachael Assignon. I'm the District 84 Pathways Chair this year.